Continuing with this lecture, we've talked about message objectives, the 10 most commonly used, and then we talked about creative strategies, your big ideal, or what you want your audience to take away from your advertisement. Then we talked about the creative concept, and that's how you portray the big ideal. Now we're going to talk about the creative strategy statement. And by definition, this is a straightforward, declarative document that sums up what you want your advertisement to say. So there's 4 important things that you should know about a creative strategy statement. The first one is they are done by all advertising agencies. So no matter what type of agency you end up in, or even on the client side, whether it's a big agency, a small agency, they all have creative strategy statements. They're usually done by the creative director or the associate creative director, and they're given to the creative team. This is their map of what they need to be doing for this creative project. They all share similar elements. So I gave you a creative strategy statement with 11 different questions or statements on them. They all share the same elements no matter where you go, where you work. When you have a creative strategy statement, you're going to have these different elements that you're going to have to answer the questions. So if you know these things, you're ahead of the game already. The point of a creative strategy is to keep the creative team on strategy. So this is something you do before you start your campaign. You come up with a strategy, and then as you're developing your campaign and different components of the campaign, you can refer back to your creative strategy to make sure you stay on strategy. They also represent an agreement between the account management team and the creative team and the client. So at this point, the creative strategy is what everybody has agreed to. The client has agreed to, the account management has agreed to, and it's given to the creative team, and they've agreed to follow this strategy. So those are the 4 things that you should remember about a creative strategy statement. They're done by all advertising agencies. They share similar elements. They keep the creative team on strategy, and they represent an agreement between the account management team, the creative team, and the client. Okay, so let's talk about the different components of a creative strategy statement. The first one is, who is our target? You always have to know, who are you targeting for this advertising campaign or for this advertisement. That helps you to focus on what you need to do. And there's some things that you should remember when you're coming up with your target. So the first one is your target market should be substantial. So meaning you can gain a profit from targeting this particular market. You don't want to target a market that is not going to help you to profit and succeed with your brand. So it must be substantial. It also must be accessible. Can we get the ads to our target market? And so it makes a difference if you have an ad out there that's targeted to a certain market, but they're not seeing the ad. Okay. And then the last one is responsive. Will they consider it? Will your target market consider your ad and what you're saying, your persuasion, or whatever your goals are? And in your creative strategy statement, question 1, who is our target, can be answered with bullet lists. So it must be very specific. You can even give your target a persona. Well, we're talking about Lisa, who's the age between 30 and 35. income is such and such, lives in an urban area, things of that nature. So it should be very specific because it helps guide your creative aspect of your campaign. Okay. So let's just go through the other components just to make sure everyone's clear about what you're doing with your creative strategy statement, because this is one of the most important components of your campaign. The stronger your creative strategy statement is, the stronger your campaign will be. So the second question we ask is, where are we now in the minds of this person? This person is your target. How does your target feel about your brand now? Just that simple. How do they feel about your brand right now is where we are in the minds of this person. The third question is, where is our competition in the minds of this person? So you've identified who your competition is for your brand. And so what you're trying to figure out is your target, who your target is. How do they feel about your competition? We've already stated how they feel about your brand, but now we want to know, how do they feel about the competition's brand? Where would we like to be in the minds of this person? Think about your target again. This person is your target. So where do you want to be in the minds of this person? How do you want them to feel about your brand? Number 5 is, what are your message objectives or objective? So think about those 10 message objectives that we went through. Remember, you don't want too many. Of course, you can have more than one, but whatever that message objective is, you need to follow it through the whole campaign. Of course, we talked about the consumer promise, the big ideal, the creative strategy. What is your big ideal? What do you want the viewers to take away from your campaign? Number 7 is the support and evidence. Now, keep in mind, the support and evidence is supporting the big ideal. So, for example, if you were to say, this fruit candy that I'm selling, that I'm advertising, every bite has a taste of real fruit juice. Okay, so your support and evidence for that would be that it's actually really made of fruit juice, and you would talk about that. So whatever your big ideal is, what is the evidence that this is true? Okay, so keep that in mind. Number 8 is the creative concept. And we've talked in detail about that. How are you going to portray your big ideal, your consumer promise, your creative strategy? Now, the tone for the advertisement, think of the tone as the feeling you get or the emotion you get from the ad. So is this going to be a happy ad? Is this going to be a sad ad? Is it going to be very serious? What is the tone of the ad? Now, keep in mind, you have notes on your creative strategy statement in your campaign assignment. Questions 2 through 4 should be answered and 6, 2, 4, and 6 should be answered in fewer than 4 sentences. So keep in mind, you want your creative strategy to be very concise. You don't want it to be overly verbose. So whatever the question is, that's all you need to answer for that particular question. Questions 5 and 7, they can be answered in 1 sentence. So keep those things in mind when you're doing your creative strategy statement. Okay. So I've said this already, But overall, your creative strategy statement should be focused, meaning central to the point, very concise. It should be moving, so invoke strong feelings or emotions, and important. Of course, it should be important. It has to be of significance. And all of this is supported by outstanding research. So your campaign assignment is given to you in an order that you should follow, as far as you should do your research first, then you should work on your creative strategy statement and get that solid before you start working on different elements of your campaign. Now, you can do the different elements in the order that you want to, but these two things must come first. Okay, so we're going to look at an example of an ad that has a very strong creative strategy, and it has a very strong concept, and we're going to look at this and talk about this.
When are you gonna get out of here?
In a while. I gotta get back.
I love you, Mama!
I love you too, baby!
Okay, so let's think about this TV ad. Who is our target for this ad? Think about it. So hopefully you thought it was mothers or stay-at-home moms or dads, anyone that may be responsible for cleaning the tub, let's just say. And then think about the consumer promise, the big ideal. Basically, the big idea is if you use this product, you will clean your tub or anything that's tough to clean quick and easy and effortless. That's the big ideal. And then the tone of the advertisement, it seems like it starts off really serious, but the tone is actually funny. You kind of giggle at the end and you're like, oh, okay. So just that simple. Now let's look at another one.
Hey, kid. You got to get down. Come on.
AmeriQuest Mortgage, proud sponsor of the NFL.
So who do you think the target is for this particular ad? Maybe young couples looking to buy a home, possibly? And what about the big ideal? Basically, they're saying if you use this product, this brand, to get a home loan, we won't judge you or your past. Okay? So, very straightforward. And then the tone of this advertisement, once again, it's funny. So, very simple tone, just one word, funny. Okay? So hopefully you get a better understanding of your creative strategy statement when you're working on your creative strategy statement, and you can refer back to this if you get stomped on anything and not sure which direction to go in. So there's two more things that I want you to remember about a creative strategy statement. A great ad won't save a bad strategy, but a great strategy can sometimes overcome a bad ad. So the point of me saying this is make sure you do your creative strategy first. You make sure it's strong, and you're more likely to have a stronger campaign. The better the strategy, the better the creative.